Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity Radiant Light. It is Sunday, June 19th. Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth. And we are still celebrating Pride Month. Today, we will be continuing our series on the 12 layers of the DNA. And today, we'll be talking about and activating the third layer, Ascension and Activation, working with the second chakra, the Sacral Chakra, and discussing and bringing in Archangel Haniel. I'm Reverend Cherie Ruffo. Good morning. For those who have been following the series, this is posted at Unity Radiant Light YouTube page within 24 hours if you'd like to hear it again. You can also, and please email, because I know some people have been texting me and sending it. I get over 150 emails a day, a lot of texts. So if you email to Unity Radiant Light, I highlight it and I will send you the slides, any links, contacts that we have, if you're looking for that. And if you're, you can put that in the chat box to Joe also, and he'll let me know. And just put the date of the service on it if you're going to email me later so I can send you the correct information. The information that we've been talking about in this series is largely based on the Cryon book, The 12 Layers of DNA. At Amazon.com, they don't have it in print there still, so the copies that you get are very expensive, but you can go to cryon.com and go to the shop button and you can purchase it for $16.99, or you can go to Amazon.com and purchase the Kindle version for $9.99. Also using my teacher, Simone Matthews, she's from Australia, and I've been studying with her the essence of angels and getting certified to teach it in the United States. And a lot of what we're talking about with the angels and the chakras and the activations also tie into this, and I'm using her information too, and both tie together because truth is truth. There's a story behind this, and we'll get to it in just a minute. But we've been talking about, this is our third week on this activation, and we're on the third level of the DNA. We've been talking about the grounding layers, and the grounding layers are the first 3 layers of the DNA. We're going to be moving into the Lemurian layers next week, the next 3. But the grounding layers, we've looked at the first week, we looked at our biology. And how is our biology related? And we activated some of our DNA in the biology. Last week, we really focused on life lessons. And we looked at our life lessons that we've learned and how we can apply it to activate our DNA. And this week, we're talking about ascension and activation. And this layer is the next layer, and it's the first layer, really the layer of light that we're talking about in that activation. The gifts that we can receive from this when we start activating, especially this first group, is layers of healing energy. And it's what we talk about. We talk about, you know, the stories with Jesus making the blind see, crippled walk. So do you think about this for a moment, when we talk about these masters, Jesus or any of the other masters who have been healing, the disciples who went out and were healing after Jesus made his transition and then resurrected, do you think they had a different DNA than us? They didn't. We all have, the DNA is the same in each one of us. So we all have these abilities. Now, the question is, were there layers of DNA awakened as we're working on right now? Absolutely. Because as you awaken these layers, as you set the intention to activate them into your lives on an everyday basis, your abilities are going to grow. Your abilities are growing. We've seen it. People are starting to see things that they haven't noticed before. Orbs, energy, things like that. That's all part of this activation. You have activated one of the biological layers, and you've activated the grounding layers to be able to start doing these things. And with each layer that we activate, it's going to get stronger and stronger. What happens? So what we call this, we say, when you have unactivated layers of the DNA, it's okay. You're going to walk through life, and we're in a 3rd dimensional reality, moving into 4th dimensional reality, where you're going to be able to, have your layers. They're going to work from memory. They're going to work from how they're programmed. Or you can do what we're doing right now. We're putting together a master's toolbox. You, as you activate these layers, are becoming the master of this DNA of creativity of your life. It's the difference between being able to heal, being able to create your own life, being able to be intuitive. There's so many gifts that come with this. I can't even name them all. And each one of us is different. So if someone has an ability activated at one of the layers and you don't worry about it, because we're each having this experience and it's based on our DNA layers. And you may see things or hear things at an earlier or later time. It's all good. The masters on the planet have activated their energy to 100%. Jesus was 100% activated. We at this time, we were at 10% activation. We are moving to 30%. We're not going to go immediately to 100%. And I'm not saying that for everybody because I don't know. It could. But most of us will activate, as we activate, we'll activate to 30% of our abilities with our DNA layers at this time. And it's because we're in this time of ascension. And when we talk about this word, we use it a lot, right? But what does it actually mean? And when you drill it down, there's a lot of things it means. But when we're talking about activating our layers of the DNA, if we wanted to do this before, we would have to transition or die in this lifetime. And then come back with the memories of what we'd already done to be able to activate and ascend. But something happened in 2012, and it started in 1987 to 89, where we were destined at that point that the life on the planet would end, and we would either have to start over again or not. But we didn't end because that layer of light that we're talking about was rising. So at that point in 2012, December 21st, 2012, some of you were here and celebrated that with us. It was a big celebration that night. What happened is we have the ability to ascend without dying, without having to transition now. We can ascend in this lifetime. And we can we're almost bringing that next lifetime together with this one. Some people that are in ascension, at some point will feel like they don't even recognize themselves anymore because so much has changed. There are things about myself now, when I look back to my past in this lifetime, that I don't recognize the person that I used to be, the values that I had. It wasn't a bad person by any means, but the values that I had then are so different today than they are today. The way I live my life is so different today than it was. So that's what this is about. This is about not having to be reborn into a new body, but reborn into this lifetime. What happens when we ascend is we void our karma. That sounds pretty good to me. We balance our duality. That means we are balanced in the fact that we have part of us is here in the biology. We have a body, and part of us is still on the other side, our higher self. So we balance that. We also worked out our life lesson. Just because your life lesson is worked out doesn't mean you have to leave now. You may get a new life lesson, or you may relax for a while. That sounds pretty good. But we have already solving these problems. The things that we came here to solve, we can solve and still stay here, because that's part of what Ascension is all about. So when we activate our DNA, when this happens, it means that we convert something into a reactive form. So this is the layer of mastery that we're talking about. You can have several of these mastery layers, because as we activate each layer of the DNA, and some of you may have already activated the ones we're on, and just enjoy that, hopefully just enjoy the talk and enjoy the information that comes from it. But as we activate it, we become masters of it. So what we're doing is we're directing the chemistry in our body to change. It's not just listening to a talk and going through an activation process, our DNA is literally changing. It's being rewritten. And it's being done, it's being done in other areas today. And we're seeing it with stem cells, we're seeing it with in people working on this with beta, the deep activation, a deep understanding of it's a way to drill down the layers and resolve problems that we have. So there's a lot of different ways that can happen. And this is one of the great ways we can do it, a very intentional way of changing the layers of DNA. And a lot of times people say, wow, these things are like miracles. You know, we're using the oil essences when we're in the activation today in meditation. Well, because they're all designed in the quantum field. They're all designed to help activate our layers. So we want to activate the chemistry in our body. So that way our body matches where our consciousness is going. We don't want to have a heart brain, because it's really all happens in the heart. That's fully evolved consciousness and not have a body that matches it. So we are driven, and we are our consciousness. And also, as our consciousness rises, it impacts the whole planet. So DNA isn't going to sit there and waiting, you know, just to be ready, just to be improved. Because and then we expect it to happen by itself. Nothing is going to improve the DNA. And healers know this, unless we direct it to do that. We have free will. It doesn't just happen on its own. You can't impose it on somebody else. This is something we have to be really intentional about. It's kind of like, and now we get to it, is the game of operation that we see here, right? Has everybody played it? Probably most of us, I would think. And if you haven't, it's kind of easy to look at and see. So we have the little tweezers up there, and you take the tweezers and you pull the different bones or the different organs or whatever it is out, and you have to do it without touching the side. So if you did play it without batteries, it doesn't really matter if you touch the side, because nothing's going to happen, right? But when you put the batteries in, and you can see the red nose there, and you touch the side, it's going to go off, and you're going to hear it, and you're going to get buzzed. We just played it with our grandsons recently in Florida. I had a blast. And I did turn off the game at one point so the younger ones can play it without having the alarm go off. They weren't quite ready. So when I look at this game of operation, I think of activation, because are we ready for it? Well, we have to set the intention. When you play operation, you put the batteries in, right? The batteries give it energy. When we activate our DNA, we're doing the same thing. We're setting our intention, and we're also activating the part of us that will enable it to happen. And will that light go off? Absolutely, sometimes, because we're not quite masters at it. We might make mistakes, and that's okay, because it's part of the process. But once you do, and you become a master of it, you can use, as they do see here with these little clippers here. You can pull the organ, you can pull any of that out without touching it, and that's because it's activated. The person who plays this game becomes the master at being able to do it without touching the sides, without setting off the nose. As we go through this process, we'll become the master, and not make the mistakes, and we'll be able to move into this very easily and naturally. So what are some of the things that we might see as we do this? We might see our abilities increase, intuition, psychic abilities. We might start seeing things around people, orbs, energy, and start being able to even work within it. You might see things that you never noticed before in nature. These are the things that will let us know and clue us in that these layers are now activated. I think it's a fun journey. So when we're aware of what we're doing, when we become aware and master each of these abilities, we can go on to the next level of the DNA, the layers. Now, the layers, can they be activated, go with, one and maybe not another? I think so, but I think the best way to do this, because It's a progression. It's an evolution for us to kind of do it in order. Now, probably anybody in the quantum field will laugh at that because there is no linear um, levels in the quantum field. It all happens at once. But just for my processes and for the processes here, because we are still in the linear field, I'm going through the 12 layers one step at a time. So as your awareness increases, your consciousness grows as you activate each one of these layers, you're going to see your joy increase. And joy is a really important part of this. We've talked about joy in the past, but joy in this level, for the activation processes, if you do not have joy, it's going to be very hard to activate this layer. And we know in Luke chapter 18, verse 16, Jesus called the children and said, "Let the little children come to me and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these." He was talking about, yes, children, but he was also talking about our inner child at that time, because there's a purity as to the activation of this DNA. There's a sense of wonder. So we really need to get back and relate and really get in touch with our inner child. And I know as I was going through therapy as a child, as an adult later, for some of the things that happened when I was a child, my therapist, I remember, had me go in as part of the exercises and just hold my inner child, play with my inner child, get that inner child to laugh again. And it was a very important part of that process, is to bringing joy back into my life. Because joy is, and especially as we go forward, joy is that secret sauce now, what we want to bring into this process, actively work with it. We're going to be working with it in meditation in a little while. The inner child is not your history necessarily, but it's that of humanity in general. So all the things that happened, some things that happened to us as kids might have been perfectly fine in those days, but today they wouldn't fly, because times have changed. So it's kind of the history of what we've been exposed to. So if you had a wonderful childhood, use it to remember that feeling that you had. Use it to embrace that joy. Harness that joy again. Really feel it. And we can use that, especially when we have problems. If we can bring that into our consciousness at the time, we're going to be able to solve them much quicker. Involve the creativity that children have. So, we talk about, and I was talking with people last week about playing in the mud. And I said, if I ever, when I work with children, I really want to go back and play in the mud. And it's not about the dirt. It's not about getting muddy or dirty, because we can clean that up. But it's about that sense of that connection to the earth that we feel. It's about that joy and that fun and the creation. What can I make with this mud? Or at the beach, sandcastles. What can I build out of this sand? It's about our creativity, our imagination. We're going to be talking more about that in a little bit. If you haven't had that kind of childhood, and if it's tough for you to even go to this place, then maybe think back to what you wanted in your childhood. What did your heart yearn for? It was probably to have fun and play. Try to harness that. Because we want to create this so we have joy and peace in our life. The DNA is aware. When we do this, our DNA becomes very aware of what we're doing spiritually and responds to these instructions immediately. So we're going to be very intentional about it here. But if a person who might not be working on this consciously somewhere in their life accesses their inner child and brings that joy and peace into their life, they are doing the same thing. They are recording, letting their DNA know that they're ready for this next step. And what happens to those buttons that we have? I mean, am I the only one here with those buttons where I could get really angry? Someone can push a button, and my family, is still really good at it. I'm working it. I'm here. I'm having my human experience, and so I'm really working on that stuff. What happens when we activate this layer of the DNA? Because it's really about our feelings. This is really, we're going to look at that in the chakra. We're going to look at it with the Archangel Haniel. Is those feelings that those buttons get pushed that maybe now or maybe have caused anger or rage, depression. All of a sudden, you may find they're not there anymore. They've just kind of disappeared. This is what happens with activation. Those things are removed. This has to do, so we're talking about layer 3. So we're talking about layer 3 in numerology. The number 3 is a catalyst. And this means that everything is changing in your life. And number 3 is also allied with joy and the inner child. So it all comes back together. So we're talking about with ascension and activation is that nothing will change without our intention. And we can do this by things we activate in our life. We just talked about joy. This will change everything around it when we start activating that. It also helps us to awaken. It's amazing what joy can do, being an inner child, being like a little kid. This is an action layer, so this number 3 layer is really fast. And it's always listening. So our DNA, those cells within our body are listening to us. And we can give it direct intentions. We can do things like bring more joy into our life. The DNA is listening. So we've gone through the grounding layers of the DNA. We've gone through, and now we're going to be entering the Lemurian layers. And that's just a commercial for next week, because no, I'm not talking about them today. But what we want to do now is really look at how does this layer 3 relate to Archangel Haniel and the sacral chakra, and we can see it there, still in the earth. So my sacred geometry that I'm using is still the cube. I'll have that. I'll be moving on to another one next week. And we're looking at the sacral chakra. When we talk about the sacral chakra too, we know it deals with pleasure, and it is also blocked by guilt. So once again, we're talking about feelings, and that's what, because that is what this is about today. The key words for this archangel and this chakra, this is Haniel, is once again, so if it's feelings, so we know we're talking about the divine feminine, and Haniel is represented by a woman here, but we know that the archangels are not male or female, but will show up as we see them. That's how we relate to them. So the key words for this archangel is harmony, grace, and flow. It's associated with the law of rhythm, because the law of rhythm is also the law of creation. So we know that the sacral chakra is our regenerative organs, our sex organs. It all comes together with this. It's related to the endocrine system. The archangel assists us with physical, emotional, mental, and physical things that we feel. They will help us to contact our inner child. If you are having a problem really relating to that inner child because it's been so long, or the things that have happened to you are so deep-seated, Archangel Haniel will help you with that. And the basis of this is to bring joy into your lives. That's what Archangel Haniel is here to do. When you have a balanced, so how do you know if your chakra is balanced? If you're balanced with this archangel, well, you're gonna have an abundance of joy and freedom. There's a surprise, right? Your intuition is already going to be enhanced. You're going to be able to use it. You may feel connected to animals because it's all about feelings again. You'll have compassion towards yourself and others. If you have excess chakra energy, it can lead to addiction. I'm sorry. Eating disorders, alcohol addiction, drug addiction. Because you're looking for ways to numb yourself. If you have too little of this chakra energy, you may be stressed out, have feelings of worthlessness, obsessed with body image, the inability to let control. I'm just going to move for 1 second because I'm going to get a cough drop. Sorry about that. I should have set that up earlier. Okay. Sorry. So this chakra, when you have this, if you have too much of this, or too little of the chakra energy, you may be stressed out, have feelings of worthlessness, and obsessed with the body image, the inability to let go of control. So you're over controlling in your life. The balancing of this chakra, working with Archangel Haniel, will bring you peace, clarity, and abundance into your life. Those in the Thursday night prosperity class, Archangel Haniel is wonderful with this. Archangel Haniel also helps with increasing your intuition, your psychic abilities. But also, if you are a person that's having trouble with fertility, Archangel Haniel helps with that. If you're having trouble with perimenopause or menopause, Archangel can assist with this too. The big thing we want to do with this is we have to release the need to control our lives, everything in our lives, people around us, but also to let go of addiction. And one of the things it does work with the sacral chakra, but also the throat chakra. So if you've noticed, as I've been talking about it, I'm my throat closed up a bit, and I probably need to look at that after service. Why I'm having trouble with speaking. So it also help you if you've had repressed or excess of sexuality, in addiction with it. Archangel Haniel and the sacral chakra balancing this will help with that too. You're going to find more rhythm and more creativity in your life with this. It's going to open us up to feeling. We're here having this human experience so we can feel more. It'll help you also if you are feeling like this, that you need to balance the chakra more, or having issues with it. Go out and take a walk in nature. Be in nature and connect with it, and you're going to feel that natural balancing too. I froze up again. One prayer you can use is, Dear Archangel Haniel, please help me to connect with my angels and my own deep inner thoughts. Guide me to perfect understanding of who I am in this moment and what I should focus on next. And so it is. I love these two quotes that I'm going to have. This is the first one by Julia Cameron. The creative process is a process of surrender, not control. This directly relates back to Archangel Haniel and the chakra. We want to have rhythm in our lives. It's about having smooth rhythm. And patience is about understanding the right moment for action and the right moment for stillness. So yes, we're talking about action today, but the action step can be to move into stillness. So we have to understand that. Patience is a very big part of this. The crystal is celestite. It has an 8th dimensional frequency, and it's very powerful. It helps with healing of this. If you have this and you want to use it during meditation, it's great. I realized when I was putting this week's lesson together that I don't have it, and it's going to be next to my list to get. Absolutely beautiful. So it helps us to resonate with this natural frequency of this. So the questions of this week are, what do you see? What do you see when you look at yourself? Take some time this week to look in the mirror. What do you see? What do you feel? This is really the word I'm looking for here. What do you feel when you look at yourself? Tap into those feelings, because that's going to help you balance this and activate. So take some time. This is a beautiful third level is Ascension activation. Beautiful. We're starting. A lot of us are in this already. Take some time. Spend some time with this. Get to know yourself better. And I really look forward to next week as we broadcast the new Lemurian frequency, the layers from Mount Shasta, which, excuse me, is known as Lemurian area of the United States. So I just invite you, as we relax, we get ready for the activation. So we say our affirmation together. I honor the divine love that exists within you, within me, and with all creation. We are one. As we go through each layer of the DNA, Ron Cohen is the artist and translator for this. Please listen to this translation, one of the names of God, and you can look at the picture.
Layer 3, Netzach, Merkava, Eliyahu. Netzach, Merkava, Eliyahu.
Feel that power within the words in this picture as we move into the meditation. You may wish to place your hand on your heart for this. As we just begin to breathe in, intentionally breathe. You breathe all the way in and release, absorbing this energy as we breathe in again and begin to release the things which no longer serve us. As you focus on your sacred breath, your sacred self, feel your I am presence. It's always there. Really intentionally feel your connection to it right now. This I am present opens up the source of creation within you and through you. As we feel this, the sacred presence, the breath expanding us, we feel the connection all the way up, all of our chakras to the 12th chakra, all the way down into the base chakra, into the base of the earth. We feel the energy coming, giving, and receiving. As it flows through us, we are giving and receiving. How do you feel? What are you experiencing in this presence of this Archangel Haniel? As we breathe into this, breathe deeply. We allow that energy, the Archangel Haniel, to create as you. You feel it. You feel this presence. How are you feeling? If you feel anything is blocked or hard to let go of, just allow it to happen through you, naturally. Giving and receiving, especially with the earth center, feeling the energy leave you. Take a moment now and release any deep hurts that you may feel. Release any abuse you may have experienced. Release your beliefs you may have that inhibit sexuality and intimacy. What is your truth at this moment? And let go of what no longer serves you. Open to this infinite flow of Archangel Haniel through you. You feel the essence of Archangel Haniel on you, in you, and as you. And if you look at a cup in your mind's eye, and you see that some of the water has been poured out of it, just recognize the truth that this cup is instantly refillable. I am filled with joy. My inner child is precious and active in my life. Feel that movement. See your inner child. And if your inner child isn't responding quite yet, maybe give the inner child a hug. I'm going to ask you now to take a moment to really think about old memories. And I'm not saying feel them, I'm saying observe them. That you may feel were stolen from your inner child, as though it happened. Sometimes we get frozen in that moment. Just think about that for a moment. I know that these things are in our past. And we can spend a moment now with releasing it, forgiveness, letting go of the story we have around it. Forgiveness for those or yourself for having it taken away from you. If you can't think of any, you might just create one and bring it to mind's eye and just release it. As we breathe in, all the way down, and we release, really release in our breath out. Releasing whatever drama, worry, anything that we need to, as we feel our hearts lighten now. You may feel the sunshine after a long time. Feel that warmth of that sunshine and that joy that comes with it. Where the child is, you may feel free where you didn't before to run around with the child, inner child, to play. You may not have done it for a long time, but feel that joy, feel that release. Feeling this joy, remember it, anchor it, because if something happens in your life where you feel the joy is gone, you can remember back to this moment to anchor yourself back to it and feel it. Because you know that whatever's happening is impacted by your consciousness. And that shift in consciousness will immediately change what is happening. And as we get ready to go into the silence with this, you have a father or father figure who has made their transition. Just feel them in the silence this morning. Feel the hug and the love that they have for you. As it is Father's Day and we're talking about children, the inner child. The father figure, if it's somebody you're not comfortable with, don't bring it to mind's eye. Because now that we have released the things that no longer serve us, we want to set the intention now to recalibrate our awakened and enhanced DNA as we move into the silence. You may have a lot of feelings as we're going through this process. And that's okay. If you feel like crying, it's okay. Cry. Whatever this brings for you, just know that this activation of this feeling layer, you are going to feel things. As we breathe into that, you can look at our cube for today and our is I am creative. We see that beautiful orange color from Archangel Jophiel and our sacred chakra. I am creative. Notice this week how you're changing. Do you have more intuition? Does your body feel different? Notice also what is healing, because this is healing. Are you a victim or a victor? What needs to heal to make you a victor if you're not a victor already? You can overcome anything you perceive that is not healthy in your life. The magnificence of you has already happened. It's assured. You were born to be here in this moment, to take part in this DNA enhancement. You're here by divine appointment, one that was made long, long ago. So as we take that last deep breath in, and as we get ready to breathe out, ask yourself, how do I feel now? So we take that joy and we extend it beyond us to the world, healing what needs to be healed in the world, helping with this activation to continue to awaken the consciousness on this planet, move it in a direction that is transformative. As we hold those in prayer, those we're praying for, we just see each, if they need prayers for health, we see every cell in their body working perfect in divine order. This is including your own. We set those intentions to heal whatever needs to be healed. We see all lives as prosperous, knowing that there is enough for everybody. Prosperity is our inheritance. And just breathe in at this moment and feel that joy and that inner peace, and then breathe it out into the world. It feels so good. We feel our hearts expanded, and we know that we are from this field of love. And so is everybody. And our very presence here is helping us to achieve greater love, joy on the planet. We have this gratitude for all the guides and masters, the archangels, and Jesus, our way shower, teachers who are here to help us with this. We're so grateful because this divine blueprint is beautiful. It's how we choose to live. So we say yes to it. Yes. And so it is.